Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. So I'm going to do this part 2 of the Hyundai Kona review because I actually tried it about a year ago, and I thought about just sharing my experience in regards to that. Just to give you guys some perspective, I have a Nissan Leaf 40 kilowatt version bought in 2018. And I've been pretty satisfied with it. Let me just comment on what he says, because I think this is a really good review, and there's some extra things that I want to add to this. So let's just get started with that. Oh, and by the way, I made some comments on his channel here, which I think is pretty relevant here. So I think you guys should kind of read that. That's very good information that I think is worth adding. So yeah, let me just react to what he says. It's a very good review.
Morning, and it's comparison time again. I've got a Nissan Leaf and a Hyundai Kona, two cars that, although they're different body shapes, sit very firmly in the same segment of the market. So let's...
I agree. Just want to say here, I just find this to look really horrible, this plastic thing, and also the rims just slightly like a bit on the cheap side. I do prefer the overall new Leaf look, 40 kilowatt, 64, 62, whatever it is. It does look quite cool. Yeah.
see how they stack up against each other. True to form, the English weather is, well, fighting against us. So I'm going to hide under this tree and I'm going to give you the initial facts and figures around these cars. So when we're looking at the Nissan Leaf and the Hyundai Kona, of course, they've both got two models now. They've both got a smaller and a larger battery. I'm going to give you the prices for just the base models, but bear in mind that the vehicles we're looking at here today, that Nissan is a Tecna, that's the top of the range here in the UK, and the Kona is a Premium SE, so again, the top of the range one. You won't necessarily get all the functions on both these cars for the prices I'm going to give you, but spec them out yourself and see where you are. It just gives us a good idea for the comparison. So let's start by looking at the two smaller battery ones. So we've got the Nissan Leaf, which has got actually a usable 38 kilowatt hour battery, not 40 as they advertise it. And the Kona, which has got a 39 kilowatt hour battery, again, usable. They both retail for around £28,000, their base models. So they're very, very similarly priced. And in those cars, well, in the Leaf, you get a 110 kilowatt motor. In the Kona, you get a 100 kilowatt motor. You get 0 to 60 in the Leaf of 7.9 seconds, as opposed to 9.7 seconds in the Kona.
I'm not entirely sure that was right. 9.7 seconds. I think it's 7.9. I might be wrong, but you guys can look that up. I might be wrong because I haven't tried the lower kilowatt version. I tried the 64 kilowatt Kona. Just want to say, my 40 kilowatt Leaf, it is really fast. A very good momentum. I think it's like 7.9 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. And that's more than plenty. So what the new Leaf is offering, which is a second faster, which I think is 6.9, that's 7, something that he said. That is very fast, and you don't really need that. So I don't really get why Tesla is going with these extremely fast standards of around 5 seconds, and around 3 seconds with their really fast ones. But yeah, they're all plenty fast.
Kona. Top speed in the Leaf, 89 miles an hour, Kona, 96 miles an hour. So,
yeah, those numbers, you can't really trust them because I don't know why they get those numbers, but you can drive it past the limit of what they advertise. So I don't know why they do that. Maybe that's to get a certain type of green certification so they can get some extra funding from the government. I'm not sure, but you can drive it faster than that. So just so you guys know.
Similar figures, if anything, I suppose because of the size and the shape of it, the Leaf is a little bit quicker to 60, but they haven't released as much power to give it that top speed, the greater top speed. Charging wise, well, the Kona's gone with CCS, which and the smaller battery will charge up to 50 kilowatts on a rapid charger. The Nissan has gone with...
Just want to say the fact that the plastic rests on the what's it called, on the car, I find that pretty bad. Wasn't that a picture of that? Apparently Google doesn't do that. I just find that a bit weird. Just want to go back and see that again.
Similar figures, if anything, I suppose because of the size and the shape of it, the Leaf is a little bit quicker to 60, but they haven't released as much power to give it that top speed, the greater top speed. Charging wise, well, the Kona's gone with CCS, which and the smaller battery will charge up.
What the hell is that? Why would you rest it on the outside of the car? I think that's pretty bad. I haven't even noticed that until now. I think that's pretty bad. That's obviously going to leave some marks.
To 50 kilowatts on a rapid charger. The Nissan has gone with their usual setup. They've got Type 2, which will charge up to 7 kilowatts, and CHAdeMO up to 50.
The old model did not have these, I think the first model did not have this light, just so you guys know. But it did that with I think it started with the Model 2 that I got back in 2018.
Kilowatts on a rapid charger. Range wise, well, realistically in a Leaf you're going to look at about 130, maybe 140 miles if you're good with your right foot. In the Kona, around about 150 miles. So now let's talk about...
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, as I said here, that the numbers that car manufacturers in general come with are really bad. So generally deduct 35% of what they're advertising. So that's a good rule in general.
They're big brothers. So the Kona with the 64 kilowatt hour battery, which is usable, against the Nissan Leaf E Plus, which has got a 60 kilowatt hour usable battery. They both do around about 100 miles an hour. They both do 0 to 60 in just over 7 seconds, about 7.5 seconds. They've both got more or less the same size motors in them. The Kona has 150 kilowatts. The Leaf has 160 kilowatts. Again, the Kona uses CCS, the Leaf uses CHAdeMO and Type 2, but on this occasion, the bigger battery Kona will charge up to 100 kilowatts on that rapid charger.
I like that. I really like that. That 100 kilowatt capacity. That's really nice. But you guys have to know that at the current time, 2020, there are almost no places where you can recharge with 100 kilowatts. So that's probably only going to be like a standard in a couple of years. Right now we only have a few 50 kilowatt places, so just letting you guys know, with my 40 kilowatt Leaf, going from 0 to 100% will usually take 1.5 to 2 hours on a fast charger, and on a slow charger at work, or normal slow charger, it will take around 6-8 hours. On a really slow charger, where you're just choosing the standard one at home, we're talking about around 12 hours. So just so you guys know what to expect.
And mileage wise, well, the Kona beats the Leaf hands down. You're getting over...
Just want to add to that, I of course paid like, I don't know what it was, $1,000 to get this faster charger at home. So I went from around 12 hours to 6 hours recharging my Leaf. So don't think that it's a problem when you come home. You just set it for charging. It recharges in a slow way. It's good for the battery, recharging in a slow way. Don't think for a second you have to get like a super fast charger. It's not good for the battery in general. So just something for you guys to consider.
240 miles to the charge, as opposed to the Leaf 210, maybe 215 miles. I will put a caveat on that. I haven't driven the new Leaf E Plus yet, so I'm taking that as a general feeling for what people are saying at the moment. Until I drive it, I can't be 100% with that. So there are your basic figures for the two cars in their different guises. Let's have a look at the diameters and what they look like from the outside. So this is where, well, you know, some of these figures might surprise you, because they did with me. I had in my mind that the Kona was by far and away the bigger car. But actually having them side by side now,
I also got that impression to start with.
you can see there's not that much difference. And it doesn't matter which variation of batteries you put in them.
Yeah, it's weird, because outside it looks like a pretty good big car. But when you're inside of it, suddenly everything shrinks a bit. So that is a good point.
The outer diameter of all these cars are exactly the same. So let's have a look. The length of both cars, the Leaf, 4.49 metres, the Kona, 4.18 metres. Width-wise, the Leaf is 1.79 metres against the Kona, which is 1.8 metres, almost identical.
Yeah.
So if you're one of these people that's worried about tight country lanes and getting around, and that's the reason why you wouldn't buy an SUV, well, don't worry about it. This thing is almost identical, if not smaller than this one. So if that gives you some confidence, that might help you. Height,
yeah.
well, as we would imagine, the Kona is a little bit...
Again, this plastic stuff. Who would want to buy a car that has this? This looks horrible. Why don't they just go with the standard one-piece thing here? I mean, it's almost like they want to stand out and just scream like, plastic, get your plastic car here. I mean, this thing at the bottom is also a bit weird. It kind of looks okay, but weird. This just looks Chinese. Ugh.
bit taller. It's 1.57 metres against 1.53 of the Leaf. But still, again, it's not a huge difference, is it? But it's enough to make it feel a little bit more dominating when you're sat in the driver's seat of this being an SUV type vehicle.
I also want to say that when I tried the Kona car, noticed that the tires that they put on the car seemed pretty substandard compared to the ones on the Leaf. You know, the Leaf had some high quality Dunlop tires. I felt that they kind of added a bit to the overall quality experience of the Leaf. I don't know if they generally choose a bad quality of tire on the Kona, but the one that I tried had some subpar tires on them that just seemed like really plasticky and something that you would get in a supermarket almost. So yeah,
you just feel like your view is improved, but actually it's not that much taller. And the wheelbase itself, 2.7 metres in the Leaf against 2.6 metres in the Kona. So as you can see, the Leaf is a bigger car, but I would suggest the Kona, when you're driving it and you're inside, it feels like a bigger car. Now, before we start looking at the front of both these cars, I just want to say another big thank you to Just EVs. Clearly, they've lent both these cars to me again today, as they have with a lot of the cars I've reviewed recently. They've just asked me to let...
Also the front, this just looks proper, you know, cool. And this is like someone gagged the car. It just looks wrong and weird. But I do respect people that like this look. I do agree that this could actually look pretty cool for some people, and I respect that. Totally respect that. It's just a matter of opinion.
Let you know that should you want to buy a car from them, then they're happy to deliver nationwide, absolutely free of charge. Right, that's that to one side. Let's look at the front of these cars. They couldn't be more different, could they? This very much is an off-roady SUV, soft-roady.
Off-road?
They're trying to go for that little bit of a rugged look, where this one is a car. There's no doubt about it. What do I prefer? Well, there's bits and pieces to both that I like and dislike. On this one, I do like that rounded nose. I do like the way it looks at the front, the way it's quite imposing coming towards you. On this one, I really do like those lights. I think a lot of design effort's gone into those, and I think it looks and it sets the front of the car off brilliantly. What I don't like about both, I'm not keen on this area on the Leaf, and I really don't like the way the charge flap is inserted there. It's actually, it's a different material, and you'll notice as they get older, the paint fades at a different rate. So it's...
That is right. That's something that you have to notice. It does fade. It does get a lot of fingerprints or whatever you call it. You do get a lot of scratches because you have to lift it up and down constantly. That is a good point. I didn't remember him saying that.
Starts to become a little bit more obvious. On this one, not so keen on the lights, and
Yeah,
I don't
agreed.
really like this front grille bit. I've spoken about it before. With all these
I don't like the
notches and
front
holes
grille.
in it, it's going to be a nightmare to keep clean. So that's the front, but what about...
Yeah, I would agree. If you're driving normal speeds and it's summer, nightmare to maintain. Yes, totally. And I just want to say with the Leaf, I was really disappointed. That was one of the big things I was really disappointed about with my Leaf. My God, do they have a really bad paint quality in general. Things just burn on the paint. All these insect marks and stuff like that. And rubbing it off just makes it worse. You know, you're just destroying the paint by basically washing your car. And I just want to say that I think that more and more cars in the industry are generally getting a worse and worse paint. We're getting this like standard Peugeot 109 paint job on a lot of cars, especially on EVs. And I noticed this on also the Kona, that it almost had as bad a paint job than on my Leaf. So that's annoying. That's something that you guys should be aware of, is that when you get your electrical car, I don't care whatever car it is, unless it's a really fancy sports car, get that paint immediately protected. You've got this ceramic coating that buff stuff you can put on the paint. Get that done immediately, okay? The modern cars are just getting worse and worse with the paint job, from the middle class cars to the bottom, okay? And these EV cars in this range have a bottom quality paint job that is equivalent to a Dacia Logan car, or a Sandero Dacia, or a Peugeot 109 or 209 model. So be aware that if I could turn back the time, I would have done that immediately. So don't think that the paint warranty will protect you. I have argued with Nissan for 2 years now, and they have not wanted to correct my paint job. My paint job is absolutely horrible. It's actually a tiny bit worse than the normal paint job that I see on most Leafs. And at the top of my car, it's flaking away the paint. So especially when you have cheap plasticky stuff at the front, which is just gonna attract a lot of collision splatter from insects. When you get your EV, immediately, even though it costs a lot of money, pay, what is it? It costs like $200, okay? You think that's a lot of money, but trust me, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money when you're 2 or 5 years into it, and your paint is basically totally destroyed all over the place, especially if you're driving a lot, which I am. I drive a lot, and I was really disappointed. It only took 6 months before I realized that it was too late. I couldn't do anything about the paint. It basically just slowly rotting away. And the more I washed the car, the more I realized that it just gets worse. You know, most cars have a double layer paint protection. The Leaf only has one layer, and it's very thin. And that's just not okay. I went from a Noble Astra, which has 2 layers and they're pretty good quality. And the thing you have to notice is that the outer part of the paint, I don't know what you call it, you have like this protection part of the paint. That's the thing that's really, really bad with the Leaf and many of these cars like the Kona. It has a very bad protection. If you go up to something like a Ford Mondeo, a proper car class, usually get a very good paint job with it, especially when you're going up to Audi, BMW, Mercedes. that probably cost like generally 30, 40, 50% more. Then you're again going up in quality. So just be aware of that, guys.
The side of the cars, and I'm going to leave the Leaf till last because I do have my own views and opinions on that. The Kona, well, I think it just carries on that look. It's maybe not as striking from the side as it is from the front, but it's got that squat, off-roady SUV type look. It's the only thing that really sets it off differently is the wheels. They're kind of aero wheels because it's an EV and it's trying to get the best possible range. Other than that, it looks like most other Konas that you'll see on the road.
Looks like it's got plastic capsules on or something like that.
The Leaf, a whole new generation, we're told,
like,
a brand new vehicle,
rims.
nothing like the old one. Well, I'm sorry, but when you look at it square on from the side, it's almost identical to the old one. Even the door handles are the same. In my mind, this is nothing but a big facelift. There's so many things in this Leaf that are the same as in the previous Leaf.
Yeah.
It's unreal. Everywhere I look, I see little bits and features and, well, whole door panels.
And he's driving a car that's basically from, 2011, 15 or what, I don't know what he said before. But, yeah, they've stayed pretty original with their design Leaf. They are a bit stuck in the past that he's about to go into.
Inside and out, they're exactly the same as the old one.
Yeah.
What they've done is they've cleverly changed the shape a little bit, especially at the front, added some nice touches like these lights, and down the side, well, they've put a different set of wheels on, and that's about it. And they've updated a lot of the stuff inside as far as what it can do, ProPilot, etc. So let's take a look at the back of the cars now. And back here, well, my mind does start to change a little bit. I think the Kona looks like every other car. It looks a little bit plain, a little bit boring. There's nothing particularly exciting about it. I like the lights here, they cut in, but that's about it. I much prefer the look of the back of the Leaf. Again, it's personal choice, of course it is. But I do like this contrast in colours. I like this blue strip across the bottom. I like how they've put it together and it all seems to just match. Again, I really like this light cluster. They seem to have spent an awful lot of time on lights front and back trying to make them look really appealing. And because of the contrast in the colours, when we come down lower, we see this real contrast here, giving it that quite sporty look at the back. So I think they've done a good job on the back using some of the materials and the designs they already had. There's no doubt a lot of this still is the same, but it actually looks like a different car from the back as opposed to looking almost identical from the side. And being at the back, well, that leads us really nicely on to having a look at the luggage space. And let's get the suitcases out and have a look. So let's start with the Kona, and if we open the boot, a little button underneath to release it and we can pull it up. And in typical SUV fashion, it's not the biggest boot in the world, but what this does have is an extra storage space underneath this load compartment that lifts up. Initially we got some polystyrene sections, and then that lifts again to reveal where could be a spare wheel, and the bits and pieces for that are there, but you could take all that out.
I just find that generally really poor. All the EVs don't have a wheel, and it's probably because of the battery and stuff. You kind of understand that, but I just find that unacceptable. EVs are basically creating a standard that says, fuck you. You're not allowed to have a spare tire in your car. Now you get to have some kind of cheap solution that isn't nearly as good. Leaf does that, Kona does that, almost all do that, and the luggage room generally in an EV is quite appalling compared to the standard of mechanical cars. Those are one of the things that I am a bit frustrated with, but yeah, for regular people, I guess it's okay.
Let's be honest, you're going to stick your charging cables in there. That's going to be the best place for them, which is great until you've got a bootload of stuff and you want to get access to them, then it becomes a bit of a pain. But that's the boot. So let's get the suitcases and see what we can get in here. So
the batteries.
I'm going to start off with this nice big blue one. The only way it can go in is sideways. At the moment, we've got this parcel shelf on. Now, you may, if you'd seen the comparison with the e-Nero, you may remember that if I put these three cases in, with the parcel shelf, there's no way it's going to shut. So parcel shelf in, we can get one case and a cabin bag.
Good for a family driving off.
Which I don't have the cabin bag today, but I do have my camera bag, which is pretty much the same size. And that will fit in the side there. If I take this off at the top, what we'll find all things being equal as last time, that boot will not shut.
Yeah, not good.
So as you
I
can
already
see,
have a similar problem.
a family
in my
amount
Leaf,
of luggage that I would
even
suggest
though,
to go on holiday with
it has more
isn't
room
going to
than
fit in the
this.
back of this
That's
Kona.
just
Let's have a look in the
unacceptable for a
Leaf.
family
And
car.
again, to get in the boot, simply push the button underneath, up the boot comes.
think that what's
Again,
in
we've got
here
a
is
parcel
just
shelf,
like
but what
the
we see here is a
bare minimum
much
of what
deeper
you
boot.
need, even though
There's
it has
nothing
a lot
underneath. I can't lift the floor
more
up.
room to some
And this
degree.
one being the Techno, we have got the Bose sub that's in the back.
Yeah, I don't know about the Bose sub here. I think it's like a UK, America kind of thing. We don't get that in my country. It's a pity.
So it does take a little bit of room up. But let's get these suitcases.
Just want to say that now I'm thinking about it. I have never ever enjoyed listening to music as much as I have in my Leaf. I don't know if it's because it's so silent, because it doesn't have a mechanical engine, but that surprised me. That really surprised me a lot. The clarity of music and the radio stations, they just locked in. That's a high quality part of the Leaf that I did not expect. What you can't see in this boot is that there's some kind of material that goes inward. So if you have like a golf bag you want to transport, you can just like rest it so it goes a bit inwards here. So it doesn't stop at the plastic. It goes slightly at the end inwards here. That's one of the reasons why the Leaf has just a bit of extra room, and that's smart. I'm glad that they did that, because that makes it a lot easier for people who are, for example, playing golf.
Case doesn't have a go.
We get it.
To say that sub is stopping me from pushing that all the way to the back unless I want to put it at an angle.
It is bigger. It is bigger. Also know that there is quite a bit of a dip here, and what I did a couple of times was that I had to buy some cement bags for some building project, and I actually had about 450 kilos of cement bags in the back of the car, and it worked quite well. I was surprised, being that EVs are so light at the front. Just want to tell you guys, you can actually transport building material with an EV. I did not think that was possible to start with.
Well, now we can see easily fits under that parcel shelf. And my bit of cabin baggage.
It's fine,
That
it could be a bit better, but
very easily.
They did a pretty
and let's
good
see
job,
if we shut the boot,
dealing
nothing's
with the space.
catching, nothing's stopping. I don't think it will come as any surprise.
Solid. Yeah, these are the things that I was talking about. So if you got a golf bag, you can have it go from like here, and then it presses a bit in like that, or you can remove these completely. That's up to you guys. I think here is some kind of behind this compartment, some kind of emergency bag light thingy. I can't remember. But I was pleasantly surprised. I just want to tell you guys, you can't tell with many of these reviews, but there's like a thing that goes up here, meaning that this is the thing that a lot of reviewers aren't covering with the Leaf. You can't put the seats completely down. You put the seats on these back seats here on top of the stuff that you sit on. Usually when you're pulling the seats forward, you're able to pull the bottom part where your tushy, where your bottom end is sitting. You're able to pull that up before you pull this thing down, so this thing becomes completely flat. You don't do that with a Leaf. That was disappointing. Okay, that I think that's a modern trend with EV cars, but that's just gonna mean that you're gonna have like an angle of like 10 degrees where the seats are going up when you're pulling it down, because the bottom part where your bottom is sitting, you can't pull that up before this goes down. So that's disappointing. Yeah.
To you if I tell you that this Leaf has got 15 litres more cargo storage area than the Kona. So hands down winner when it comes to putting stuff in the boot is the Leaf.
It's annoying if you're buying a piece of furniture and you want it to fit in the car. I made it work, you know. I bought some kind of a cupboard table thingy a couple of times. So I made it work, but it's not entirely safe driving it that way when it's all up in the air. You would like it to go further down. So
Let's have a look in the back of both cars now and see how comfortable they are to travel in. Now in the back of this Leaf, we've got a reasonable amount of room.
Reasonable amount of room, and your knees are a tiny bit high because of the elevated floor. So that's like the standard of EVs, and it's probably going to be more like that in the future with the bigger batteries that we're getting, or they're going to make it more SUV like. So I was surprised with my family. They told me that the neck supporters here at the back are really, really quite good, and especially the seats are high quality, and just everything. The interior is generally pretty high quality, but one huge mistake that Nissan has made, generally with all of their cars, is that, what the hell is this? You can't call this a neck supporter, you know? Technically, it does support your neck, but, I mean, there's no adjustability back and forward. I get that they probably can't do that because of regulations, but most cars on the market are able to produce neck supporters that are comfortable. I've never driven a car like a Nissan, especially the Leaf, where the neck supporters are just almost rubbish. It took me a while to kind of realize it, and I think a lot of people who own a Nissan car don't really realize how bad the neck supporters are in general. I would characterize the quality of angle, just the angle, being something from the 1970s. Now that's really bad. I mean, even the most basic cars have better neck supporters than these, and that's a lower class car than this. So that Nissan dropped the ball on this part. You know, the material is good, it's high quality, all of that. There's enough space, not a lot, but enough space for most people to sit here, and there is room quite a bit to move the chair back and forward. So Nissan did a good job with most of the things in the cabinet, but this one little detail with the angle, it's just horrible. You got this like forward angle neck rest stuff. It would be nice to have like a neck rest that could come closer to you when you're driving the car, supporting you at a very comfortable angle. Most cars have a pretty good neck rest, pretty decent. Ford, Opel, most of them do have a pretty good thing there. Nissan is one of the few where I just think, oh my god, it just feels like that you have to settle with something like a car that only costs like a third of this quality wise. So just that angle, Nissan changed that.
Driving seat is set up for me. I'm 5'9", and well, if I'm sitting normally in this car, I've got room. My toes are just tucked under the seat. Loads of room in front of my knees. I've got a decent amount of headroom,
and the headroom thing. Yeah, you don't really notice that as a normal person who's around 6 feet. Children have no problem, but just notice the fact that you cannot, this bottom part, you cannot pull that up before this goes down. You can only pull this down, this part here. I don't know if that's special with Leaf, but just so you guys know about that.
It's really comfortable. As we've said before, this has got leather. This is the top of the range, but
it's simplistic. It's quite good. And I don't know if the camera angle is covering it, but around here there should be some kind of buttons for regulating the seat warmer. Perhaps this is a model that doesn't have it, but seat warmer for the back are here. That's what I got with my 2018 model, which was the top model at that point, 40 kilowatt car. So I expect all the newer, higher versions also to have the same thing, and that's a neat thing for people sitting at the back. My family really appreciated that.
the seating layout is going to be exactly the same. Back here, I don't actually have an awful lot. And one thing I've noticed, in my 24 kilowatt hour Leaf, I've got an armrest here that's got 2 cup holders in. This hasn't got anything, but I have got some pockets behind my seats.
Yeah,
I have got this big tunnel here that will take up some space, which means...
Yeah, I agree that tunnel there would be nice to get rid of, but I have an idea that because it's an EV, that thing is there. It's like a regulator for the battery or something like that. So yeah, tough.
That although this is a 5-seat car, unless you are a very, very small adult or a child, you're not going to want to sit in this middle seat. Certainly not for any length of time. But sat here, it's comfortable. I have to say, there's plenty of room here for me. If we compare that to the Kona, well, it's a little bit tighter. Again, the driving seat's in my position. I've got a bit of room in my knees there, but no.
Notice this. This was weird for me to get into the Kona. Look at the space between his knees and the front seats. Now that's basically where you've taken the front seat and almost pushed it as far as it goes forward. So this front seat doesn't go a lot back and forward. And that's why I feel that Kona, Hyundai Kona, they kind of dropped the ball here. This is hard plastic, this thing here. And it's up against his knees. Me being 6'1", which is almost regular height, my knees were going against this plastic. You know, I couldn't sit straight, and I'm not really a tall kind of guy. You know, I might be a bit taller than average, but I was disappointed. This is truly uncomfortable for people who are regular adults and want to be on a longer trip. You shouldn't have hard plastic rubbing against your knees, so you have to sit at an angle. The fact that he's able to sit with that much distance surprises me a bit, but I couldn't do it with my legs, and that's pushing the seat completely forward. So I might have legs that are a tiny bit longer than normal, so I would probably be more comparable to a guy who's 6'2", but it's kind of weird because they have some pretty decent neck supporters at the back. I quite like these neck supporters here, but this is just total fail. Notice that the angle is a bit like on the Leaf, but still Hyundai did a better job because this is just really comfortable. The seats kind of grab you a bit more. They're a bit more soft than the Leaf. They don't squeeze you as much, especially the top part here. It's just more comfortable. But just you can tell on the build quality, this is just like a plasticky, leathery cover. You know, it's just not quite, you know, as premium as a general Leaf, and I'm talking bottom models and top models. The whole interior of the plastic leather thing is just, it's a bit you know, cheap.
Not a massive amount. My toes are definitely under the seat here. What I'm feeling is a bit more restricted. I'm feeling like my feet are getting trapped a bit there, so I can't sit as
looking at this now from this angle, it could be just the camera, but I think that Hyundai was compensating with the lack of distance here, so they may have increased the angle here to give you a bit more knee room. Just to let you guys know that looking at this picture, I could be wrong, but that's the impression that I get looking at this picture. There's more of an angle going here, but I did feel that being at the back here, I actually felt more comfortable in this car, where my family said that they felt more comfortable in the Leaf. So I think it's kind of a personal flavor thing. What you like as a person, I think it's very individual.
Comfortably in the back of this car, but other than that, I have got myself an armrest here, which has got cup holders in, a couple of nets back here.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's comfortable enough, but it doesn't feel like you have as much room as you do in the Leaf. And that's not to say that that's a vast, great car that I'd want to spend 8 hours a day travelling in the back
right
of.
On the nail.
It's just to say there's a bit more room and it's a bit more comfortable.
And when it comes to talking about the front of these two cars, what I don't want to do is get hung up on all the little individual details, because, well, they could be different models. They've both got a ProPilot, lane assist type feature. There's various bits and pieces that differ.
Also, notice this. It took me a while to completely get this, but can you see that when I'm pointing with my cursor here? This is where the seat ends. It also on the Leaf ends pretty short. With older cars, you would have the seats, the bottom of the seats ending more like over here, so it feels like you would get more support under your around your knees, closer to your knees. I find that a bit irritating with some of the modern cars. I don't know if they do this because of safety reasons. It could easily be. It could just be me who wants to go back to a bit of an older style of driving here. But I generally feel that all EVs could just have seats that are a bit extended this way. That would be nice. So you could get more of your legs supported. It could be that it's just me and my longer legs and the whole standard of the car industry is just going this way. But yeah.
But it depends on which model.
Also, just want to say that it was nice with the Kona that it was wider in the seats. The Leaf are a tiny bit squished in, so it feels like it's almost a bit more of a sports seat, which kind of grabs you more instead of what do you call it? Softens the blow and catches you a bit more like the Hyundai. So you
buy as to what you get. What I do want to talk about is the general feel of the cabins. And in the Kona, I feel like I've got a lot of space and a lot of air. I love this great big screen here because it gives me so much information and it's so easy to see and so easy to use. The information in front of me is all there. It looks okay. It's nothing particularly modern about that, I'll be honest, but it looks all right. All the bits and pieces are there.
I agree.
And this nice big centre console, which has got nice bits of storage, places for cups to go. Everything is just laid out and it flows through here, making things very easy to find.
I agree. I also like the look. And the sound system is actually pretty good, just like in the Leaf. Slightly different sounding, bit weird. I can't really tell how different it really was, but what I didn't like about the Kona was the whole button area thingy. There was just a lot of buttons here, and they felt pretty cheap. And the whole wheel, the quality of the steering wheel, very cheap. It's already pretty cheap in the Leaf, but this just felt like this was going to be like worn down within a couple of months. I could really see this whole thing just like having to be disassembled in perhaps a year or two. It just won't stand for you going out, quickly getting some building material, putting it in, and working on your house. It won't stand for that. This is like a businessman's car. It won't stand for many trips out. Driving between countries, having a huge family with a huge amount of stuff to put in the boot. It's kind of a cheap material, which is only good for when you're really driving the car in rush hour traffic and just for work. I felt like they could have done the whole steering wheel, made it with a much better quality material. But yeah, just want to say it has a camera at the front and the back, as far as I remember, and it's a better quality camera than on the Leaf.
And use. And generally around the car, I've got cup holders in the doors. The glove box at the front isn't massive, but it's a small glove box to keep your paperwork and things in. Seats are comfortable. The steering wheel is nicely laid out. Everything again is on there that I would possibly want. One of the big differences between these two cars is the way that they regenerate power back into the battery when they're driving. This one has a 3-stage system using these flappy paddles. So from regen 0 to 3, so actually it's 4, but 3 that actually work, if you like, it gets progressively stronger, and I like that system. I like the way that you can use it to slow down if you come up to a roundabout or a junction. Don't really have to use the pedal.
I also thought that was interesting, but I just think that the Leaf has its own e-pedal thing, which is just far better. And when you've gotten used to the Nissan Leaf e-pedal, when you go over to the Kona and you realize there's no real e-pedal, this is like simulated, almost half as good e-pedal thing. It just feels a bit plasticky and cheap and not quite solid.
And then you can release it to let yourself go again on the other side. Well. Let's go and see how that compares to the Leaf.
I also want to say that when you get into these modern cars, Hyundai Kona and Nissan Leaf, they have all this assistant lane stuff, and then when it blinks, when it gets into the mirrors at the side, so it warns you of cars coming in from blind angles, and it maintains the speed to the car ahead of you and keeps a safety distance. All of that stuff could on the Leaf be deactivated. I couldn't figure out how to deactivate that on the Kona. It kind of irritated me because I felt like when I was driving the Kona, I was driving against the computer instead of it was working with me. It could be me that just wasn't able to quite understand how that worked, but it also, I noticed that first couple of rides when I drove my Nissan Leaf, having it when it was new, that you just have to just deactivate everything, deactivate the whole computer thing, because it gives you such a better experience of the car when you have all of this modern stuff regulating the speed to the guy ahead of you, and it just feels like the car is almost working against you. So I clearly recommend deactivating all this stuff, using the e-pedal. It will not only save you a bit of battery power, it will make the driving experience more safe, because if you're counting on a computer saving you, you'll get used to it and you'll doze off. So I think both cars have an automatic driving feature where you can just like lock it, and then it just keeps the distance to the car ahead of you. And then it stays within the lanes, and I think that to some degree it works pretty okay, but I suggest just deactivating that stuff. Oh yeah, I didn't know if I mentioned it, but the whole driving pilot thing, I found that very erratic, and like it was kind of living its own life. And that's also one of the things I really don't like about Kona, is that it's like the Ioniq. I think the Kona is definitely an improved version of the Hyundai Ioniq, but it just feels like it's not really solid, planted on the road. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the cabinets. The screen is better and all of that, and it's a pretty good sound system. There are just some few things that kind of really destroy it for me. And also when you're really accelerating fast, I find that in the Kona it kind of loses the grip more than in the Leaf. So EVs are naturally very light at the front of the car, and I felt that it was just like too spinny when you wanted to really accelerate fast in the Kona.
Well, in here, because I'm lower down and because
with the lower down thing, I actually think you can adjust it. It can go a bit up and down at the bottom where he is. So I do get what he's saying. I kind of agree that the Kona has a bit better view, so I agree with that. But notice the quality, quality of the seats and all that, just high quality. And notice this was what I was talking about with the seats before. You have this like wedge thingy that kind of squeezes you a tiny bit. I mean, that's not a problem for regular people probably weighing up to around 250 pounds. But if you're a bit obese and you're a big guy and you want to have your knees resting here like in a normal car, these wings here are just really bad. They might look good on a design piece of paper. I found this to be a bad decision from Nissan. Just get rid of these plasticky wings. These take a lot of knee room, which he is about to talk about.
I haven't got as much glass around me, and because everything is dark in colour, you feel a little bit more enclosed, and you don't feel like your view is as good, and you don't feel like you're getting as much sunlight coming in at you. Which
that's true.
Until you compare the two.
I have to say that I'm the kind of person who likes to be in a dark room. I don't like to look at flashy, blinky stuff and a lot of electric gear. So this is like a personal preference. What type of person are you? Are you like this modern person with glasses that want a lot of hi-fi fidgety stuff with a lot of features, or are you this like a bit older, more simple kind of guy who wants just a more solid and high quality type of car?
Until you sit in each one back to back, you don't realise how nice that big open airy feeling is.
Yeah. But I also have to say that I don't know if he mentions it, but the whole gear system in the whole the Leaf, I just find that really fantastic. It's just like playing almost a video game. We just go click click with your finger. You don't even have to look at it. And that's awesome.
You see all these Teslas now, and other modern cars have got the great big windscreens that go up into the roof. There's a reason.
Another thing, I must not forget this. No reviewers really get into this, but notice the fact that you cannot pull the steering wheel towards you. I'm pretty sure that you could do it in the Hyundai Kona, but I still felt that you could have pulled it a bit more on a regular car. So I don't know if it's an EV safety issue, but Nissan, for God's sakes, make it possible for people who own a Leaf to pull the steering wheel towards you. You can basically do this on most Nissan cars, but you can't in the Nissan Leaf. I don't know why. Again, the whole neck supporting area, just a really bad angle from the top here to the bottom part of the top seat. It just doesn't feel natural resting against that. It feels like you're almost resting against a wall that's tilting you a bit forward.
For that. But other than that, in here, what we find is good quality craftsmanship, I would suggest, for a vehicle of this price.
Simple, good
there's
quality.
Stitching, there's padded bits mixed in with what feels like decent plastic bits. We've still got our shiny piano black plastic, which I hate, but there's not too much.
Yeah, I kind of get what he means. I've had mine for like 2 years now, and I noticed that people that borrow my car, they have a tendency of like scratching this part, and I do agree with him, but you have to as a manufacturer sell the car, so practical stuff like that is just it's just stuff that kind of gets done. It's like a compromise, but. Notice these wings here. They just go way too much towards the guy driving the car and the guy next to him. So it's all pretty simple stuff going on here. But again, these are signs of stuff that people usually do in an Opel car. Okay, so consider the Nissan in the EV industry to be very much like an old Opel Astra in the mechanical car industry. It's just simple, reliable, solid, won't break down. It's just very, very simple. I just love the whole simplistic, no nonsense experience where it feels like you are in total control of the car. That's the feeling that I get when I drive my Leaf, and when I tried the version before mine, which was the 30 kilowatt one, was just you're in this car and you're basically just using the the speeder going back and forward. I don't even have to use the brakes on it because I've got the e-pedal thing. It's just so nice and simplistic. And yes, I can of course use the brakes if I want to, but it's just simple, nice, and you just get that feeling of like, wow, yeah, I might even be able to keep this EV for maybe 15 years, and that's why I took the Nissan Leaf.
Of it in here. The screen I think is too small. I don't like that. I prefer the big screen.
Too small. It's a bit.
It's just another example of how they've just taken the old Leaf and tried to put it into this brand new Leaf, which isn't brand new.
I also don't like the new modern wheels, steering wheels that are generally too small, and they've got this like squashed part at the bottom simulating a sports wheel. I don't like that. I find that the whole wheel in the Leaf is a bit on the light side. I was used to driving a mechanical car. You have a lot of resistance. Something to think about. I remember a guy trying my Leaf at work. I have to mention this to you guys. He tried it and he said, "Oh yeah, fast. Oh yeah." And he had a new Volkswagen Golf mechanical car, really good solid car. Higher class car than I bought, and he said something interesting to me that I did not think about. It took me a while to kind of get this, but he said that, wow, the speeder is like really light, and that's the thing that you guys have to take into consideration especially when you're getting an EV like the Leaf. It has a really really light speeder pedal. Some people don't like it because when you have a mechanical car, you have a certain amount of resistance, which means that you can kind of rest your foot a bit more on it when you're speeding. So something to take into consideration. I considered this a small part of the Hyundai Kona experience that was better than the Leaf. So again, something to take into consideration. But the whole, steering wheel plastic thing, and you're not allowed to, you can't really pull it towards you. You have to kind of like extend your arms a tiny bit. I don't like that. And I do agree that you're a bit, sunk in at the bottom part with your legs. And they could, here on the seats, they could extend that like more away from you. So, yeah.
It just looks dated now. It really does.
It does.
The screen in front of me, all the information's there. Again, it's not ultra modern, but it's very, very easy to read.
Yeah.
The steering wheel, very, very similar actually, in that you've got all your.
Just want to say that it said on the settings e-pedal off. You can go into the settings and you can actually set it for so it's automatically on. So that took me a while to get. And that will make the experience of driving the car a lot more pleasurable. Let me just quickly see if I can stop.
Which isn't brand new.
Clip at a certain
point. It just
point.
looks dated now. It really does. The screen in front of me, all the information's there. Again, it's not ultra modern, but it's very, very easy to read.
Simple.
The steering wheel, very, very similar actually.
Okay. This took me a while to understand, but you have to activate the whole, what do you call it? Speed pilot. In Danish you call it fartpilot. Speed pilot, which is basically, what was it now? I think it was pressing this and then pressing down set. That then sets your speed pilot. I'm not really entirely sure how you do it on the Kona. It kind of seemed erratic and performing very differently. So just so you guys know how to activate that. It gets a bit weird trying to use that for the first time.
And that you've got all your buttons, everything set out. You can do most things that you would want to from your steering wheel.
I like that.
And I think this is where perhaps the Leaf is starting to show its age a little bit now, because it doesn't flow as well through here as it does.
I agree. And also the angle on the Leaf's dashboard here going down means that you can't put anything on top of that. So it would be nice if the whole Leaf thingy was a bit lower so you could see more, and you were to maybe perhaps sit a bit longer. You got a bit more extension on the leg part here. I get it. They also say that with a lot of EV cars that there's no noise when you're driving. Yeah, that's kind of true. You have to know that going from 0 kilometers an hour to 90 kilometers an hour, it's basically not saying anything, and it's a lot more quiet than a mechanical car. But once you get up to around 100, 110 kilometers an hour, it actually starts to, it's actually quite noisy. Also with the Hyundai Kona, quite noisy once you get up to 110, 120, 130, 135 kilometers an hour. EVs do make quite a bit of noise at those speeds, so don't expect them to be quiet at those speeds, because you're lowering the noise floor, but there's still a lot of noise coming in, because these are not premium cars. When you're dealing with premium cars like a BMW or an Audi or a Mercedes, they have some certain type of really good sound isolation. That's also one of the reasons why you pay a lot of money for those cars. So just know that when you're driving these regular speeds on the freeway, you are going to get quite a bit of noise coming in, because there is no engine overpowering that noise. So you don't get the engine sound, you get the wind, the sound of the wind.
In the Kona, although some parts of it look a little bit better in the quality, actually you've got a whole section here where the heated seats are and the USB. It looks a bit agricultural, I'd say, in comparison. It looks like they've just put a piece of plastic across and put some switches in.
I notice there's an eco mode. When I drive my car, I usually have it in eco mode, and it feels plenty fast, so you don't have to have it in sports mode. This whole joystick thing, it's really fun driving with this. It just feels like you're a child who's 10 years old, and you're in this like Disneyland thing, trying to use a modern go-kart, and it's just fun, it just makes driving the whole car really a lot of fun. Very
don't like that. Now, we spoke about the regen in the Kona, but the way it works in this is from the gear stick. There's nothing behind the steering wheel. You're either in
the whole gear thingy thing with the buttons in the Hyundai. It just felt like, oh my god, this is going to fail at some point if it's all like buttony, having to do with the whole gear system.
Drive or B mode. B mode gives you some additional regenerative braking, and you can feel it.
So always drive the car in B mode. Don't just put it in drive. So that just means like click, click, and then you're off. And then you've got your natural e-pedal on. Just leave that on, okay? And if you don't like the e-pedal, if it doesn't brake on the timing that you prefer, then you can go into the settings, and I think you can adjust the e-pedal on how much it brakes. But that's really cool. That's really cool.
It's slowing down quicker. Now, if you have it, you could also have the e-pedal in this car, which will bring the car to an absolute stop, very much like level.
And this is a bit fuzzy, the whole screen quality area. But I have to say that the radio is solid in sound. The connecting with Bluetooth, I was really surprised how Bluetooth sounded this good. I mean, the whole Bluetooth system to the smartphone thing works really well. I also like the whole thing at the sides with the buttons. It's very solid. It kind of hugs you a bit at the side. You could kind of wish that there probably was a bit more room, like if you were a bit overweight, but I feel that the whole steering wheel thing is a bit too small for me. I prefer the older car, bigger steering wheel, and I prefer that they don't do this flat thingy at the bottom. But I mean, it's a new standard of thing that we're all doing in the newer cars, so I kind of get it. But it just look at the whole thing. It's just very solid and simple and simplistic, and it just feels like you own a Leaf and you're gonna own it for at least 8 to 10 years. Where I feel that when I was in the Kona, I could just feel that, like, oh no, I'm not gonna get this car, even though that there's a lot of things that are better with the Kona than the Leaf. I just felt like I would be dealing with a lot of small electrical problems, and I would just constantly have to, borrow a car and get things like that fixed. And when the warranty had expired, I would have to, get all kinds of small things done, and the plastic would fall off and the buttons wouldn't react properly when I had to change gears. I just felt this was just solid.
3 on the paddles in the Kona. For me, this car feels like it's of higher quality overall inside, other than those few little bits we've spoken about. One of the other issues that people always complain about is this centre bit.
Yeah.
Why they fanned it up and out.
Stupid.
Your knee knocks against it all the time. And it's all right initially, but when you're on a long journey, that is something that gets very annoying.
Yeah.
So that's the only other criticism I've got. Other than that,
it took me about 1,000 or 2,000 miles to get used to this, to kind of get used to parking my left leg in a certain way, because I've driven around 800,000 miles so far in my life with different cars, all in all, and I just had a certain angle that my knee was kind of getting used to, resting at the left side. And suddenly you have to angle your knee slightly to keep it more of an upright position instead of resting to the left. So, or you could push your left foot a bit more forward towards the front of the car and then go underneath this thing. You could in theory do that, but it was a bit awkward to start with. So yeah.
It's a nice cabin. They're both nice cabins. I would suggest that the Kona is more airy and it feels nicer to be in.
Yeah.
The quality of materials used and the way it's put together, I would suggest, is better in the Nissan.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
And so that brings us back to where we begun, and a decision to be made, because both of these cars sit very nicely in that segment of the market that would interest me. I'm a family of 4, 2 children, my wife and me. So these cars are the sort of cars I'd be looking at to replace my 24 kilowatt hour Leaf. On one hand, when I arrived and I got back in this Kona, I really liked it. I remember just how much fun it was to drive, just how much I liked the inside of this car. But on the other, it just doesn't have the space that we would need as a family, and that suitcase test proved it perfectly. The Leaf, it feels a bit dated now. It feels like it's time for it to be updated and something new, some new life injected into it. But I do like the inside of this car. I do like the way it's put together, and I do like just the general driving feel of this being a car over an SUV. So what do I choose? Well, for me, the long and short of it is, this doesn't work for me as a family, this one does, therefore this car wins for me. If only everything was that simple in life, but ultimately it's got to come down to some practicalities for me, and kind of the Nissan Leaf ticks all the boxes. It's similar in size, similar in the way it drives. I know that our current 24 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf works for us as a family, so this one equally will work for us.
Just want to say that you also have to take into consideration with all the newer charging standards that I think these two cars can recharge at 100 kilowatts, especially if it has the new 64, 62 kilowatt, whatever it's called, model. It's a new standard of just being able to charge at 100 kilowatts an hour, and that makes a huge difference in regards to saving time on your journey. So that was basically the only reason why I was considering the Kona, because it had a bigger battery, 64 instead of 40 kilowatts, and it had the capacity to use 100 kilowatts whenever that would become a standard, which it didn't really with the places that I had to go with the charging network that I had. It might be in a year or two, even though I'm reviewing this about a year after he has, but it's taking quite a while getting these fast chargers all over the country, so we can just go anywhere and just charge quickly, and it's very easy to get into a place where you're only able to charge with something like a standard around 20 kilowatt charger, or if you're able to get into the city compared to where you are in the country, most of the time you will then, if you're a tiny bit lucky, only be able to get these 50 kilowatt chargers. This is 2020, I'm making this review, but just letting you guys know that that is a huge thing to take into consideration. And that's one of the few things where I think Tesla completely beats every EV on the market. They just have this gigantic network of chargers. You can, when you're in the Tesla, generally look at the screen and get a direct feedback of how many charging stands are available, which is something that no other brand really does, no other car manufacturer does. So that kind of annoys me. And looking in the Nissan, the whole system of GPS is just horrendous. It's very difficult to find an address because of the way that it indexes an address. You have to find something that's very you can easily punch in an address that gets lost in a gigantic index of other addresses that are similar. So usually you'd be able to punch in the postal area code first, and then the address, and then it would like zoom in on what's good. But the problem with the Leaf is that when you're looking for an address, you're punching in the address first, and then after that you have to go on an indexing list to find out which one in particular it is that you're going towards. This makes it really annoying looking for like 75% of addresses that are out there, because you have to have a very special address that will then quickly index it before you can find it fast. So the whole GPS system in the Leaf is bad. I don't know how it is on the Kona. I got an impression that it was better on the Kona. And what was it now? The whole charging network guidance system in the Nissan is really bad. Let me just quickly can't remember what it is. Just a moment. Just want to tell you guys something. Just a moment. I'm still here. I have an app on my phone which is ridiculously good for keeping me up to date with what's going on. PlugShare, that's an app that you can get on at least an Android phone. This app on the phone here, so much better than the Nissan app. Don't use the Nissan app. PlugShare, that's the app. It's a free app. You can go on that, and then you can zoom in and out, and then you can see the fast charging stands that are available where you are situated, in what country you are, especially in Europe. So this will help you get to the places. This will help you get information about the place, how many charging stands there are, when they are open, the address, all of that. And you can just use Google on your phone. That's what I did, Google Maps. And then what I do is just have it. Let me just go back here. I hope I'm not going to get you in trouble for saying this, but what I do is I put a piece of paper here where I just rest my phone so I don't scratch the plastic. And then I just rest my phone here so I can still see the driving speedometer thing. And then I just have Google Maps taking me to the destination. So every time I have to go somewhere in the Leaf, I don't use the GPS system, because it's just very basic and bad and unintelligent. The Kona does a lot better job there. I just use my phone, and then I have Google Maps on it, and then I using that PlugShare app, find out, okay, I have to go to this town, I have to go this place and do this, and oh yeah, they're open 24/7. Good, I'm gonna go here. But when I arrive at the place, because I don't own an expensive Tesla, I don't know until I'm there if it's available. So I could, in theory, have to wait about an hour before I can recharge. But I have to say that having recharged a lot of places in my country, statistically speaking, I only had to wait like 5%, maybe 10% of the time. And usually it was only like around 10 minutes I had to wait. I think one time I actually had to wait about 35 minutes. And I also have to mention this to you guys, because I'm a very thorough guy. Look at my channel with my audio review gear. I noticed recharging my Leaf that sometimes if I set it to recharge and the capacity was already full, there was already a guy recharging there, and it said on the display, okay, we will resume the recharging when this guy clears the capacity. I noticed with my Leaf that sometimes it would fail recharging, so I would come back after maybe an hour, and then it wouldn't have recharged, and I'd have to start all over again. So expect this to happen. Plan it in your trip. Maybe it's a special thing only about the Leaf. I think it's a thing with general charging that I think every third time that EVs just do this. So just to let you guys know that these are like the inside tricks of dealing with an EV. So that's basically all. And I hope this really helps you guys, because I want people to get an EV, because it's just so much more fun than driving a mechanical car. So yeah, have a nice day. Bye.